Chapter 1. Behind the Thin Veil. London, 1885. The summer was stifling, and even in the heart of Mayfair, the air hung heavy with the scents of horses, wet cobblestones, and coal soot, like a lingering curse. The shadows cast by the buildings seemed too long for midday, and time itself appeared to stumble, caught between two chimes of the street clock. On the second floor of an old building, above a milliner's shop whose sign had long creaked on a single hinge, there was a small but tidy office. Behind a desk, bent over paperwork, sat a man with a straight back and a piercing gaze. Major Sebastian Marlowe, a former soldier turned private detective. He commanded respect, marked by precise movements, a jaw like it had been carved from granite, and eyes the color of ash from a fire long burned out. During his years of service, he had seen more death than most could imagine. Now he took on cases where there was neither honor nor uniform, only filth, deceit, and well-paid truth. A sudden knock at the door broke his train of thought.
Come in.
The door opened. A woman stepped into the room, tall, dressed with impeccable taste, yet modestly. A veil covered her face. Her fair hair was neatly arranged, and her hands were gloved in soft suede that clung tightly to her fingers. She paused at the threshold.
Major Marlowe?
Yes, sit down.
At last he lifted his gaze and studied her with a faint squint.
Pray tell, why would a lady of your standing come to me instead of the family solicitor?
She took a seat. Her movements betrayed nervousness, though without any hint of affectation.
My name is Olivia Hartley. I am the wife of Lord Graven Hartley, a member of the House of Lords. I require a man capable of discreetly uncovering what my husband does when he departs at unsanctioned hours.
An affair?
I'm not certain. But he's grown suspicious. He leaves in the daylight and returns late, sometimes soiled, as though he's been traipsing through God knows where.
Marlowe rose and approached the window without looking at her. Lord Hartley is a powerful man. Any mistake could cost dearly, Marlowe thought to himself. But the office won't pay for itself. He turned around.
I'll take the case, but I warn you, I'm no spy for marital jealousy.
That's exactly why I came to you.
He gave a nod. And with that, the conversation ended.
Chapter 2. A Suspicious Lord and a Silent Watcher.
Surveillance, like war, demands patience, dry feet, and the ability to stop caring about one's dignity. Major Marlowe knew that firsthand. He had expected the Lord to turn left toward actresses, dancers perhaps, but every route led deeper into the working-class districts. And by the evening of the second day after Lady Hartley's visit, Marlowe already knew. The Lord wasn't leaving the house for an affair. Not one of his paths led to hotels, theaters, or secret apartments. On the third day, Marlowe followed him into Southwark, a poor quarter south of the Thames. There, where the stench of fish and rotting cloth drowned out human voices and sewer drafts seemed like living things tugging at skirts, Lord Hartley wore a dark coat and a hat with low brims, clearly chosen against the weather. He entered an old bakery whose sign had long since peeled away and whose windows were covered from the inside with dirty paper. Marlowe crouched on a crate across the street, hiding behind a cart. He watched. 5 minutes. 10. Then the door opened again. 2 men came out, not the Lord. One, heavy-set, his face carved with scars. The other, clean-shaven, narrow, with the eyes of a vulture. They stayed by the door, as if standing guard. Time passed. Marlowe decided it was time to go in. He circled around the back and found a boarded-up gate, a flat pry bar always in his pocket. Crack of wood, steps, slow, soft, soundless. Through a dusty kitchen into a dark hallway, and there, a staircase led downward. Voices rose from below.
He froze.
We know you have her, Hartley. Are you really so ready to part with your life?
Kill me, and the papers will have a feast.
We want the folder, my lord, not your life. Marlowe barely breathed. This was no lover's quarrel. This was something far more serious. He knew he had to leave. Think it through. He stepped back and onto a dry board. It cracked. Silence below.
Someone's here, damn it!
He didn't wait. He turned and vanished into the darkness like a ghost, knowing 1 second slower, and the outcome might have been very different. Later, walking under the flickering glow of the street lamps, he thought, this wasn't about jealousy. This reeked of something else. Fear, power, a secret too dangerous for tabloid ink. The folder, he repeated in his mind, as if the taste of the word might reveal more than what was said. Who is she? The one he has. And who's desperate enough to kill for the truth sealed in pages? He could feel the case pulling him inward, not as an investigator, but as a participant. And that was a troubling sign. Marlowe knew that taste. He knew that when people start whispering about truth, the real kind, not the version served at dinner, someone always disappears. And then disappears the one who went looking. When they stop watching you as a man and start watching you as a threat. An old colonel once told him, "You've got 2 ways out. Join them or float face down in the canal." Marlowe was neither. He was the one who kept walking forward until it's too late.
Chapter 3. The Nameless Trail. Marlowe climbed down from the attic of the neighboring building half an hour later. The alley was quiet. Southwark had shrunk in on itself, fallen silent, hiding its witnesses in the cracks between bricks. He walked quickly, without looking back, but the plan was already forming in his mind. There was no point in returning to the office. If those men really were after some folder, this case went far beyond marital suspicion. He recognized that cold tone in their voices. Those 2 weren't common blackmailers. They were disciplined, organized. He turned toward the river and entered a private club frequented only by military men. A few former officers exchanged brief nods with him. Inside, he found what he needed. Thomas Holloway, a former intelligence captain now working for Scotland Yard.
You always look like you just spent the night in a trench,
Holloway said, shaking his hand.
I need a name. 2 men, Southwark, abandoned bakery on Silver Lane. One had a face like shattered mosaic, the other thin as a needle. No accent on either of them.
Holloway frowned.
Sounds familiar? The second might be Whitman. Works for Brace and Company. You've heard of them?
Marlowe nodded slowly.
The damned construction company?
Yeah. Officially, government contractors. Unofficially, a black market of influence. Land, deals, shadow contracts. Their protection goes straight to Parliament.
Marlowe jotted something in his notebook.
Who's in charge?
Holloway lowered his voice.
No one knows any names. There are rumors about someone called the Hand. Someone who pulls the strings through third parties. Their operations are clean. Their ties untraceable. All you see is the result. And you don't want to get in their way. Not unless you're ready to disappear.
What if they already know I'm sniffing around?
Holloway looked away, putting on that same military detachment. Part mask, part armor.
Then you've got less time than you think.
Then I won't waste it.
Chapter 4. When the hunter becomes the hunted. That morning, London felt like it had shed its skin. After the suffocating, foul-smelling evening, the streets now seemed too calm, too washed clean. Marlowe headed to Lord Hartley's house, not to follow, but to speak, directly. No more games. The front door didn't open right away. The butler,
An old man with a face carved like a bone knife looked at Marlowe as if he were a threat.
His lordship is occupied.
Inform him that Detective Marlowe is here on urgent business. I'll wait.
His lordship isn't receiving anyone, sir.
Then let him be surprised.
He stepped inside, not in haste, with dignity. His clothes were restrained, a long coat, gloves, a gray hat. After a few tense minutes, he was finally shown into the study. Lord Hartley sat behind a heavy desk, staring at a column of numbers.
I'm sorry, do we know each other?
Not directly. I was asked to keep an eye on you.
By whom?
Your wife.
The room fell into a silence too long to be polite. The Lord stood, setting the paper aside.
You followed me?
Yes. And now I need the truth before someone gets killed.
Hartley moved to the window, as if trying to hide his expression. Outside, the fog drifted, gray and sluggish, like the doubts in a man not ready to tell the whole story. His hand gripped the windowsill, knuckles turning white.
You don't understand. It's not as simple as it seems.
Of course not. Simple stories don't hide people in basements. Simple stories don't end with mercenaries from Brace and Company.
Hartley turned sharply.
You were there?
Marlowe nodded.
I heard you trying to strike a deal. Heard that you have something important. And now you're in a situation that no polite letter is going to fix.
Hartley leaned back in his chair, exhaling heavily.
It's not my secret, but if they find out I talked, they'll kill me.
As long as you have the compromising material, you're safe. But now they know someone's watching you, which means they're watching me.
Hartley stared at him in silence. His gaze drifted, like a man who had made a decision he feared.
In the old Lambeth district by the river, there's a warehouse, officially for furniture, but what they store isn't wardrobes. In the basement, crates. I saw one open. Inside, neat cylinders, labeled in French, dynamite, an entire platform of it.
What the hell do they need that much dynamite for?
I don't know, but when I asked, they told me, one stray glance is a nail in your own coffin. The next day I received a note, no signature. It had an address, the location of documents that could expose those bastards.
And where is it?
Hartley was silent for a long moment.
You realize, if I tell you, you'll become the next target.
Already am.
You stepped on a floorboard in the bakery, didn't you?
Marlowe raised an eyebrow.
And if they didn't know who you were before, they do now. If you want to survive, Major, you'll have to go where the evidence is hidden, in Highgate, in a crypt under the name Ashdown.
Then that's where I'm going.
Lord Hartley stood, reached for the decanter, and poured himself a little brandy. His hand trembled.
You'll either find the truth, Marlowe, or become its victim.
Chapter 5. Stone and Blood. Night fell on London like a black veil on a widow's face. Marlowe walked alone, carrying a revolver, a lantern, and an address scribbled on the corner of a map. Highgate Cemetery. Ashdown. The wind trailed behind him like a whisper. Low clouds swirled above the graveyard, and the shadows of statues seemed too alive. The iron gate creaked as he pushed it open. He didn't ask the caretaker for permission. The man was likely long asleep, lulled by brandy. The stone path led deeper in, past angels with broken wings and crosses buried in leaves. Marlowe moved with purpose, guided by memory and scent. Wet stone, moss, and death. And somewhere beneath it all, the truth worth dying for. The Ashdown crypt was half collapsed. Part of the front had crumbled, and the gate hung by a single hinge. Inside, stairs led down into the dark. He lit his lantern. Descending, he found a narrow niche in the wall. At first glance, it was just brickwork, but on closer inspection, fresh mortar.
The stone gave way with a light push. There, deep inside, lay a metal box. Small. Heavy. Marlowe set it on the slab and opened it. Inside was a neatly bound leather folder, dusty, tied with cords. On the cover, the initials BC and a marking, Series 4, Confidential. He flipped through the contents. Documents, real ones, signed by lords, budgets, map overlays, and among them, blurred copies of letters. Upon completion of cleansing, the districts are to be cleared. Foundation points marked per route K. No leaks allowed. Blame on Irish elements. Coordinate with Home Office before end of quarter. They were planning to blow up parts of the city and blame it on terrorists. Marlowe shut the folder. The world fell silent. Even the rain had stopped. Only his heartbeat thudded in his temples like a soldier's drum. He stepped out of the crypt into the cold, fog-soaked London night. The damp air reeked of soil and moss. Each movement echoed through the graveyard's tomb-still silence. Suddenly, like a knife in the spine, a familiar voice came from behind.
Bit late for a stroll, Major.
He turned and saw two figures, the gaunt, ruthless Whitman and a hulking man in a dark coat, as if he'd stepped out of the shadow itself.
You know too much,
Whitman said coldly, slowly raising his revolver. A bullet whistled past his ear, grazing his coat. Pain tore through his left arm. Blood soaked through the fabric. He ducked, firing back, finding cover behind a tombstone. Bullets zipped and ricocheted, turning the earth around him into a battlefield. Suddenly, out of the mist, emerged the Lord's butler. Tall, steady-eyed, calm with deadly resolve. A pistol gleamed in his hand. He opened fire. A few sharp shots sliced through the air, and one of the attackers, the large man in the coat, howled, stumbling back, choking on pain. The butler rushed to the bleeding Marlowe.
You're wounded, sir. We need to leave.
Not without the folder.
I'll cover you.
They retreated slowly, exchanging fire with their pursuers until the fog swallowed them whole.
They're willing to do anything.
Then we'll have to go further.
Chapter 6. The Old Quarter Must Disappear. Early in the morning, the fog still clung to the rooftops of London as Hartley's butler carefully led the wounded Marlowe through narrow alleys, avoiding unnecessary attention. Their path led to the Lord's mansion, the last safe haven where first aid could be given and the next steps planned.
I wasn't there by accident. You were lucky. The bullet went through clean. If it hadn't been for Lord Hartley sending me to assist you, it could have ended much worse, and the loss of that folder would have cost him his life.
Marlowe gripped the butler's hand, trying to suppress the pain. Inside the house, Lord Hartley was already waiting for them. The butler brought the detective to the study, helped him sit in an armchair, finished bandaging him, and quietly placed the used dressings on the table.
We don't have much time. Brace and company won't rest until they get what they want.
I need to know exactly what we have on them. That folder. It's our only hope. Bring it here.
The butler nodded and handed Marlowe the carefully arranged papers.
This isn't just about construction. It's a large-scale conspiracy involving politicians and government officials. They're planning to blow up the old district, to eliminate unwanted witnesses and claim the land for their own projects. Irish terrorists, just a smokescreen. The blame will fall on them, while the real culprits remain in the shadows.
Marlowe clenched his fists.
Then going to the police is pointless.
Unfortunately, there's too much corruption, too much money involved, but we'll take a different route. If we gather enough evidence and rally allies, we can expose them publicly, when the time is right.
Then we need to move quickly and carefully. I want to reach out to my friend Holloway at Scotland Yard. Maybe he can help.
Night had fallen thick outside the windows, but within the mansion, a light had been lit. The light of a fight for truth and justice. Chapter 7. at the heart of the conspiracy. Early in the morning, while the fog still clung to the rooftops of London, Marlowe sat at his writing desk. Ink slowly seeped into the thick paper as he carefully chose his words. Dear Thomas, an urgent matter requiring discretion. I cannot reveal details in writing. Meet me this evening at Lord Hartley's house. Only you and those you trust completely. Marlowe. He sealed the envelope, stood, tucked the letter into his inner pocket, and stepped outside into the cool and salt-tinged morning air. At that same time, Lord Hartley, maintaining a calm demeanor, held confidential talks with a group of men in the shadow of a church bell tower in Southwark. He was hiring them to surveil a warehouse on the south bank of the Thames, where, as he had learned, dynamite and demolition gear were being delivered. His instructions were brief. Observe. Do not interfere. Report everything through a courier. Later that day, in a gentleman's club on Pall Mall, Hartley met in person with Sir Arthur Devon, a member of the House of Lords, and owner of a sprawling chain of hotels stretching from Whitechapel to Chelsea. Sir Arthur, a stout, balding man with piercing blue eyes, listened attentively to Hartley's report and nodded.
If even half of this is true, I'll provide the men and the money. We won't let our homes become smoldering ruins.
They shook hands, silently, as men do when no more words are needed. That evening, in Lord Hartley's study, 6 men gathered. Hartley himself, Marlowe, Sir Arthur, Thomas Holloway, and 2 of Holloway's men, Sergeant Kelly and Inspector Woods. Heavy curtains were drawn, and the firelight cast restless shadows across the walls. A folder lay open on the table, blueprints of tunnels, budgets, letters annotated in French and German. Among the documents was one marked Phase 2, Clearance Zone for New Thames Project. Marlowe laid everything out by date and name.
It's time to act. We have enough to start making arrests.
No, we can grab 6, maybe a dozen, but the top brass? Only if we bait them into a trap. We offer a deal, the folder in exchange for safe passage. We set a meeting, and that's where we take them.
All eyes turned to Marlowe.
And if they see through it?
Then let them know we've already found them, and it's too late to run.
Hartley checked his watch.
We have the night. Tomorrow, we begin.
Chapter 8. The trap is set. London, early morning. Disguised as an ordinary passerby, Hartley's butler, Mr. Hendry, wanders slowly through the streets, weaving between stalls and crumbling houses. Tucked under his arm is a sealed envelope containing an offer in the name of the Lord. He knows he'll be noticed long before he reaches the intended door. In an alleyway, 2 men intercept him. Not a word, just a quick search, a curt nod. The papers are handed over. The terms of the deal are simple. The incriminating documents in exchange for guarantees of safety. Later that same day, Lord Hartley's men stand on a hill overlooking a warehouse on the southern bank of the Thames. They watch as a cart pulls up to the gate. Nothing unusual. Sacks of flour tied down under canvas. But today, something different is being unloaded. One of the wooden crates cracks open, revealing the edge of a metal pipe. Dynamite, another shipment. I think they're in a hurry. Hartley Manor. A large study with heavy curtains and a blazing fireplace. Lord Hartley and Marlowe stand by the desk. Nearby is Sir Arthur. He holds a glass in his hand, but the wine remains untouched. In the far corner of the room stands Thomas Holloway, dressed plainly like a street vendor. He arrived at the house in secret before dawn. In his hands are a street map, a cellar blueprint, and a list of names.
I've gathered my people, only the trusted ones. a few officers from Scotland Yard, and 2 from the Department for Counter-Subversive Activities. I haven't even informed the others.
Sir Arthur steps toward the desk.
I've used my connections as well. The original folder has been documented by the police and registered under code D-12. We photographed every page and certified the contents. The copy was made from those images. Next, I'll involve my own people, but only those within my close circle. Then tomorrow, at noon, we'll drag them into the light. All that remains is to play our part.
Chapter 9. Gunpowder and Glory. Noon was approaching. Marlowe and Holloway were going over the details of the operation, carefully planning every step.
We have to move fast. One slip and it could all go to hell.
Marlowe nodded, eyes fixed on the map spread out before them.
They won't get away. This ends soon.
A narrow alley near the edge of the city. The day was overcast, but that didn't stop a curious crowd from gathering at a distance. Inside the alley, everything was going according to plan, until the very last second. The handover was supposed to be quiet. A parcel, a handshake, a swift departure. Everyone was in place. But then, one of the thugs tensed. His gaze shot up to an attic window.
Something's wrong!
A shot rang out a heartbeat later. Metal clanged. Someone screamed. The alley erupted in chaos and gunfire. In the blazing confusion, one of the criminals shouted in a strange tongue and pulled a canister with a fuse from his coat, an incendiary bomb. In a flash, it was airborne. Mark Marlowe lunged forward on instinct, kicking the device toward a barrel of rainwater. A blinding flash lit the alley. A shard from the exploding metal lid slashed his shoulder. Blood seeped down his sleeve.
You alive?
Holding!
Holloway, driven by old instincts, went on the offensive. His men overwhelmed the remaining thugs, pinning 3 to the cobblestones. One tried to flee, but was taken down by a baton thrown with surgical precision. At that same moment, across the city, a police unit led by Sergeant Blackstone stormed the gates of the warehouse on the south bank. The doors burst inward under pressure, the shout echoing through the yard. "Don't move! Down on the ground!" Soldiers and agents rushed inside. Among dusty sacks and scorched barrels stood rows of crates, neatly arranged. Each bore the crest of the Royal Arsenal and the words, "For disposal. Do not open."
This is a fake. They've been bringing in live munitions disguised as scrap.
A search of one detainee uncovered a business card holder. Inside, a letter bearing the emblem of Brace and Company, handwritten by the assistant manager. On the back, a short note. Act quickly. Blame the workers if necessary. J.B. signed, Julius Brace. Late evening, a mansion on Portland Place, behind wrought iron gates. The servants hadn't even closed the door when Holloway and 3 detectives stormed into the hall.
Mr. Julius Brace, you are under arrest for conspiracy against the security of the Crown. You will be granted legal counsel, if you manage to find one before dawn.
Brace barely had time to step back before hands seized his arms. A golden pen clattered to the marble floor. Chapter 10. Justice. The newspapers hit the streets that morning, still warm with printer's ink, spreading through alleys, shops, tea rooms, and carriages. Heroes of our time, they saved London. Explosion prevented at the last moment. The conspiracy of the century uncovered. Who's next? The smoke of recent events was slowly dissipating. In Lord Hartley's mansion, in the library filled with the scent of old books and cigar ash, Marlowe sat in an armchair by the window. His arm was bandaged, his face weary but calm. In one hand, a rolled-up newspaper. Beside him sat Thomas Holloway, Lord Hartley, and Sir Arthur.
They'll have enough for several months of discussion. The House of Lords nearly exploded. and not because of the bomb.
But now everyone's eyes have been opened.
Sir Arthur raised his glass of brandy.
To those who weren't afraid to stick their hand into the mire. To us.
Marlowe nodded, but didn't raise his glass. His eyes lingered on the headline. One of the key figures in the operation. Private Detective Sebastian Marlowe. 2 days passed. Beneath the high vaulted ceiling of the House of Lords, a ceremonial reception was underway. Red uniforms, dark robes, gilded decorations, and the clicks of cameras filled the hall. Representatives of the Crown and Parliament were present. Some were already whispering that this was the most significant operation since the Irish Rebellion. On a velvet cushion, medals. Holloway and Marlowe, dressed in formal black suits, stood on the dais as Sir Arthur approached them.
On behalf of the House of Lords, we express our gratitude for your courage, determination, and unwavering devotion to the nation. Mr. Marlowe, there is something more. We would like to offer you a position on the Commission for Internal Security. It is not an easy post, but you have already proven that you can see what others overlook.
If I've learned anything over these years, it's that the homeland needs protection just as much as a man needs the truth. I accept.
Evening. A modest apartment on the second floor of a house in Bloomsbury. The clock strikes 10. On the wall, under the lamp's light, hangs a black and white photograph. A woman wearing a hat, a gentle smile, warm eyes. Sebastian Marlowe poured himself some whiskey. He sat by the window. The window was open, and beyond it, the distant chime of bells and the horn blasts of omnibuses could be heard. He raised his glass toward the photograph.
This time, we have won.